Your teams are stuck waiting on decisions that shouldn't need your approval. Your best people are leaving because they can't move fast enough. Does that sound familiar? If so, we're here to help. Today's best of episode features 7 proven strategies from leaders at Vanguard companies such as GE Appliances, W. L. Gore, Bayer, Fidelity, and Cascade Engineering. All these leaders broke apart the traditional hierarchy and gave teams real power to decide, to innovate, and to adapt.
And Michele, these are some of our favorite clips from all these interviews we've done. We've organized these 7 strategies into 3 key areas. So number 1, the leader mindset shifts that really make distributed leadership work. Secondly, the structures that enable speed and autonomy of decision-making. And third, how to thrive when chaos is our new normal. So watch until the end where you and I, Michele, break down what you can borrow and use this week. What is one tip you would offer to others who are looking to go down the same path?
My advice to, if you're a manager, if you're, CEO, anything in leadership, is you really have to learn humility and practice humility. And really, you got to question yourself, are you the smartest person in the room? Do you think that's why you're in that seat? Do you think that's why you became CEO, because you're smarter than everyone else? If you are, you have a massive disadvantage, because what it means is you're not tapping into the smarts in your organization.
I would say probably 3 things are most helpful and what I tell people. Number 1, we say lead with humility. Okay. And that practically really means listening. Treating everyone with respect, with dignity and respect, and listening. Our best ideas for internal improvement or for products, they come from others, right? They come from our associates. They come from our customers. And so listening is the number 1 thing I would say. Being curious and listening, they go together. Even when people, let's say they come from outside, they have a big career, they've moved up, and they've had a big role. If they have a large ego, they feel they know the answers, and they're not humble and willing to listen, then that's a bad sign. So staying humble and listening is probably the single most important thing. Number 2, I would say, is just treating others as you would like to be treated. So just treating everybody with respect. This is the no jerks rule. That just doesn't work at Gore. You respect everybody. It doesn't matter what their job is. We screen for this, but sometimes it's people pass the screen and we don't realize it. But treating everybody with respect is probably the second biggest thing. And then the third one maybe is a little bit, I almost think it could be surprising because it's so obvious yet so often missed. And that is, be clear on what success looks like. What are you aiming to do? And how will you know if you're successful?
Once you've got the right mindset, you also need the right structure. So here are 3 ways these leaders reorganize their companies to enable people to move faster within decision guardrails that tell them what to do in the moment, aligned with the organization's strategy.
You have to break down ideas like, this is my swim lane, that's your territory, you own this, I own this, and really get the team thinking about the team as a whole. And what does it look like if all of the work is being presented to us and it's up to you, all of you, to raise your hand for what you're going to do, to figure out how to collaborate? That can be really messy on the front end. So as a leader, I had to be very proactive about how they were going to be evaluated and what was going to be important to me and all of us, not just the work output, and definitely not who's in the spotlight, but how are we getting the work done? What are we delivering? How are we getting the work done? And are you empowering the team and helping your teammates to work better in this new way?
The nature of leadership is shifting very significantly. So we're putting most of the decision making, most of the work in the hands of the network of entrepreneurial teams. And leaders are now shifting to guide, support, and enable the teams. We're doing strategy making at the front line. We have people on factory floors. We have people in research labs. We have people on customer teams talking directly to customers, making strategy, really thinking about things like pricing and investment and all of the elements that senior leaders typically would think about. And we use the acronym Visionary, Architect, Catalyst, and Coach to describe the new form of leadership. So as visionaries, leaders are really setting the vision, the aspiration for the network of teams. As architects, they're forming what we call a bold and light strategic and financial frame within which the teams operate. So leaders will still think about, for example, what markets do we serve, which product category should we operate in. As catalysts, leaders are really facilitating the working of the network. So facilitating and enabling teams to really talk to each other with high transparency and collaboration rather than going through leaders. So leaders are actually seeking to get out of the way and to really facilitate that horizontal dialogue. And as coaches, to make sure that teams are constantly learning in these 90-day cycles.
Kevin, one of the ways that you've brought customers closer is by creating market-facing units called Microenterprises. What exactly are these microenterprises? And could you share an example of one that's been particularly successful?
You know, microenterprise, it's really a simple idea. Big businesses move slow, react slow. Small businesses are more nimble, they can react, and they can make quick decisions. So a microenterprise is just a way of how do you take a large enterprise and keep breaking that down into smaller and smaller segments that are ones that really relate and work with the customer. How does the customer want to be served? And not many customers say, I want to be served by a big CEO that flies around a jet and, doesn't really care about me. So the farther you can get away from that to small groups that service your customers, the better you are. And in us, what are we? We're a product business. We make durable goods that you put in your home. So that really starts defining what makes sense with our microenterprises. So the smaller and smaller we can get into product categories, the better it is. Once we did this, success started coming. For years, our revenue was stagnant. And once we put microenterprises in, we became the fastest growing appliance company in America, by far.
So why does this matter right now? Because the future, frankly, is less and less an extrapolation of the past. And here are two final strategies for pivoting rapidly as circumstances change and really find ways to thrive in this age of upheaval.
Failure is very natural. I mean, if you're never failing, it means you're never innovating. What kills products is the customers. And that's, I think, what the key is. You have to allow customers to kill these product ideas. So, everyone wants to keep things secret. The problem with keeping it secret is you spend all your money before you realize that this is a good thing or it's a bad thing. The other thing I think is important to talk about is it's not just innovation, the benefit of these microenterprises. It's speed and nimbleness. Where we are right now, it is chaotic. And I've loved being a CEO. First thing that hit was COVID, and that was a chaotic time. And now we have an environment where every day something different is happening. This is, I think, the world we live in. It is fast-paced. It's going to change, and what you planned yesterday might not be right tomorrow. And what organization model is better to deal with that? A big behemoth that has to go up to the CEO to make a decision, or self-organized units that can control their own destiny and move? Because what I've said in business right now is the teams and the corporations to bet on are the ones that can adapt. And are you built for that adaptation? I think a lot of these CEOs, they're built for power. They're really not built to serve markets.
Going back to the belief that everybody brings value to this organization, people who have been through incredibly challenging circumstances have a higher level of resilience than some people who have not had any challenges in their growth. They've learned how to adapt to very different challenges, and I think we're hitting a turning point in our society. I took my role as CEO in 2019, and I had about 6 months of everything's great until the world collapsed with the pandemic. Now we have tariffs, and then we had other things, and I've really started to believe that the new normal is chaos. So the new skill set is resilience. And so how can you do resilience well? And I actually think some of the people that we have that are coming from different backgrounds do resilience really well. And they have good mechanisms to get creative as long as they know where we're moving. As we look at our training programs, we have some very clear boundaries around A-level operator, B-level operator, C-level operator, and there are some formal on-the-job training and then some informal classes or other types of outside support services. We have some mentoring. We have a whole apprenticeship program. And then the apprenticeship program dovetails into our internship program. So people can come directly out of engineering school into our apprenticeship program. On the leadership route, as you have the frontline leaders, as I mentioned, are really critically important. And then as they go from frontline leadership, they can go into other areas. You could go into quality, you can go into inventory control, you can go into some of the finance or HR, other types of areas. It's this combination of on-the-job training, mentoring, and then partnering with local institutions that can help accelerate that training.
All right, Michele. So there you have it. 7 strategies that really work, from leading with humility to building teams that not only survive, but really thrive in chaos.
Yeah, we've covered quite a range of strategies, and we want to invite you now to put some of these into practice. And we'll give you two tips. The first is to stop being the decision maker on everything. Don't necessarily have to weigh in on who gets to assign to a project or which vendors to use or whether to push back a deadline or whatever other decision that sits right now with you. Pick one of these, hand it off to the team, and see what happens.
And it's probably won't be as bad as you think, even if mistakes are made. So start small and try some delegation where it's safe and small. Secondly, ask your team in your next meeting, what should we stop doing? What should we start doing? And what should we keep doing? And then muster your inner humility and actually listen. Don't defend, don't justify, just write down what they say and take it in. It might be a little hard to hear, but that's okay. You can handle it. And you might be surprised at all the creative ideas that bubble up. When people are asked, they have a lot to contribute.
Okay, that's it for now, Kate. But we have a lot more coming. Kate, myself, and the whole Leadership at All Levels teams are really excited about a chance of bringing to you in 2026 even more leaders, even more strategies, inspiring stories, and real-world examples that are really practical. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of them.
I can't wait to see you all next time on Leaders at All Levels.